uh, I would like to request Shri Shailendra Singh ji, our member of board of directors, to give the introduction about what is CRFC and what are our the visions and missions and what we have, what we actually do. So over to you, Shailendra Singh sir. Sir, you are on mute.
Sorry about that. Thank you, and thank you, Kashyap, and a warm welcome. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, as the case may be. Happy to be here, and just I will just take a couple of minutes. But we all know that climate change brings forth a multitude of risks and opportunities for businesses, and this is going to force societies and business to mitigate and adapt to these risks. Businesses and investors are interested in managing these risks and benefiting from upcoming opportunities. They have to implement a complex system of climate-related disclosures, accounting and banking standards, and satisfy regulatory requirements, etc. This can be daunting and, in fact, sometimes even discouraging. So our council aims to essentially simplify these systems so that it is easier to implement, monitor, and manage climate risk and the associated opportunities. Once climate risk is better understood, better monitored, and better managed, then we want to utilize climate finance to basically help create a more equitable and a more resilient world. That essentially at the core of it is what the Climate Risk Finance Council is all about. Now, if you allow me to share my screen, Kashyap, you may have to enable the screen sharing. Mine is disabled. Ah, there it goes. Let me just give me a second and I will. So our vision, as I just said, is to envision a world where climate-related financial risk management actually provides for new, additional, and sustainable sources of climate finance to deliver climate justice. Really, we want to ensure that the transition is a just transition. In terms of our mission, we want to provide thought leadership in perceiving climate risk and its impact on financial institutions, compile and develop resources for climate change, mitigation, and adaptation, and then also develop philosophical foundations and practical tools to implement climate-related financial risk management in financial institutions. So that essentially is what this not-for-profit organization is working towards. We have several members from various parts of the world, as Kashyap just alluded to, as well as from different sectors and industries, but a large portion of them are made up of people related with finance world and banking and such institutions. So with that, hopefully it gives you a sense of what this is all about. Let me hand it over back to Kashyap to take this forward.
Thank you so much, sir. This was a brief introduction about our non-profit organization, and I would request R.K. Anand sir to please introduce today's guest speaker, Shri Hargovind Sachdev.
Yeah. Thank you, Ashutosh, and my pleasure, privilege to introduce today's webinar speaker, Dr. Mr. Hargovind Sachdev, who is having so varied experience in banking as the international banking professional, forex expert, and one who has insight into the vigilance also of the banks, where we see that the post disbursement, post utilization of credit, the vigilance has I think deeper insights into knowing the end use of the funds lent by the lenders. So it's going to be a very, very enriching experience today for not only for the CRFC members and the board of the CRFC today, but the participants of this new
Anand sir, you got on mute mode.
uh, I'm on mute now. Am I audible? Yeah, fine. So this subject, which is in making, everybody is coming up with his knowledge, information about that. And here is the time to link with the practitioners like Hargovind sir today to have the deeper insights into the subject so that from the council, as Shailendra sir and Arela ji said, that we have made a humble beginning to come out an organization of practical relevance for those who are gauging the risks which may evolve for the financial sector out of the climate risk. So that is our, you know, appetite, I should say, and we are going to be benefited all in this webinar. Welcome, sir. I just hand it over back to Ashutosh for taking the proceedings ahead after this small introduction of such a versatile international banker from the State Bank of India, those who have experience in very large projects, I should say. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. So over to you, Hargovind sir. So the floor is all yours, and I would like to request to start the session.
Yeah, please.
Ashutosh, is the screen visible?
Yes, yes. Now screen is visible.
Worthy colleagues and respected members of the great institution, which is doing a very silent but very effective work. My dear Climate Risk and Financial Council members, kindly accept my best respects to each one of you and to each one of the participants today for sparing their invaluable time for this cause of ameliorating the problems of masses because of the climate risk, which is gripping the world right now, even at this moment. We've just come out of the rigmarole of COVID-19. And if you see through a helicopter view, then this COVID-19 itself was the biggest climate risk, which probably we could not mitigate in time, and then it engulfed the world. And today, the inflation across the globe, which is killing so many industries, some of the banks have been closed and stopped lending, is also a result of poor management of climate risk by various lenders and various regulators. Friends, it's a great honor and a very timely introduction of this subject at this hour and these times, because entire world needs the strategies which they can deploy to meet this risk head on. I have prepared this slide of about 37 slides, and I've divided it into 3 sessions. They will be very small session, one after another. The basic session agenda is what exactly is climate risk, because most of the students also are joining us today. So we'll start from the basics, and then we will also understand what is a banking risk, because climate risk and banking risk, even though they are inseparable, they have different connotations. Then we'll proceed on to find the impact on various financial instruments, the way people raise funding or operate how they are impacted will be our second course. And the last one will be the strategies for which we are waiting for to learn how we can mitigate the climate risk, which is really, like a fang of a serpent, now gripping the entire world into in its embrace. And it is so tight that country after country is struggling with their monetary policies to come out of the grip of this big menace. So friends, before I proceed, I'll just relate a very small story. There was a carpenter who was expert in building wooden houses. In Europe and the Americas, the wooden houses are built for spending weekends with families. So this gentleman, over a period of around 15 years of experience, built almost 100 such houses. And then he felt that he had enough of it, and he wanted to retire. So one day he reached his owners and told him, "Sir, I want to discontinue making these wooden houses. Kindly permit me retirement." The owner was surprised and shocked because based on the expertise and acumen of this gentleman, he had purchased a lot of wood and various other materials that go into making wood houses. So he was totally, taken aback. But then he said, "You please finish whatever you have in hand." This guy said, "No, sir, I just want to leave. I have other commitments, especially to my family." Then, after great persuasion, he agreed to build one last house, one last wooden house at the request of the owner of the company. And with the very little heart in the job, he started making that house. He selected wood in a hurry, and the windows were not properly fixed. The roof was leaking, the floor was creaking. And but still somehow he made it up and went to the owner with a key and said, "Sir, here is the key of the last house. Now permit me to leave." The owner was very magnanimous, and he immediately gave back that key to this fellow and said, "This is a gift from this company to you because you built hundreds of houses. So please take this as a gift. I will manage, with other workers to build fresh houses." So this guy, when he went back to the house, he saw everything topsy-turvy, water leaking, roof breaking here and there, and wood making a lot of noise, windows not closing. So he really felt that whatever status today he is in, it is all his creation. Today, if the world climate is bad, friends, it is we people who are responsible for this, because we have not cared for the Mother Earth. See, Mother Earth has given us place to, born. It has given us opportunities to grow, then, build our own house. But then we have not cared for Mother Earth. And as a banker or as a financial person, here is the opportunity to carve out a niche for yourself by lending to the segments which discourage carbon emitting units, and create, an endeavor to create a world where the emissions and the carbon emissions will be less. So friends, the climate risk is the probability that a person will be harmed or experience an adverse health effect if exposed to a hazard. It is a sudden situation which inflicts loss to the economic value of the property, equipment, or human beings. It is a risk where the probability of harm and losses happening to individuals, organizations, and communities happens suddenly due to adverse changes in the climate. There are visible signs of climate risk and invisible signs. The visible ones are sudden changes like storms, flood, tsunamis, earthquakes, and various pandemics. And it is actually having a genesis in the long-term negligence, deforestation, urbanization, poor treatment of sewerage, and massive industrialization and excessive pressure on natural resources. Friends, there are steps to alleviate climate change, and those are very costly. They increase the operating cost. Then carbon taxes are imposed. huge capital investment is done. I remember the days, when I had financed one brewery in Rampur making wine. They had to put a treatment plant, and since they could not put that plant, their winery was closed for 1 month long because of the government directives. Even in Tirupur and Salem, suddenly the guidelines came to install, anti-carbon producing and anti-pollutant equipments, and most of the industry became sick because of the heavy costs. So climate risk is triggered, by basically climate change, and the climate changes come because of the negligence of human beings. So let us discern first what exactly is a climate change. Friends, there are 4 facets of climate change. The nearest to us is, of course, the weather. Weather can be forecasted. We know that tomorrow it is likely to rain or not likely to rain. So, it refers to conditions of wind, air pressure, temperature, humidity, and precipitation. It is predictable. But then climate, climate is a combination of weather patterns on a particular location over a long period. Suppose you live in Karimnagar, there, the sun rays, because of the Tropic of Cancer passing through the city, sun rays fall directly. So, the temperatures in, summer will go beyond 40 degrees also. And that the climate there is hot. But if you live in Canada, where the temperatures rarely cross 28 degrees, even in the summer, so you will know, and most of the 9 months out of 12 months, there is a winter. So, the climate is cold, because weather over a long period of time decides the climate of a place. Now we enter into the most significant aspect of climate change, that is the greenhouse effect. Friends, there are 2 gases which all of us, generate. That is carbon dioxide. We have to live, so we have to exhale carbon dioxide. And the material around us, which we eat, which we throw, which we retain, which we hold or dispose, generates what is called as methane gas. Now, these 2 gases have wonderful capacities of holding on to the energy of sun. And those energies, they sustain a livable temperature. Now, the irony is that if the quantity of carbon dioxide exceeds or methane exceeds, then the temperatures go up. And once the temperatures become unbearable, the life also becomes, very tough to live, and the living conditions deteriorate. Now, that results to what is called as the topic of the day, that is global warming. The net warming of Earth's temperature due to human enhanced greenhouse impacts is what is called as global warming, which, has cascading effects on the entire ambience in which we live. Friends, the ecosystems and human systems are vastly susceptible to climate variability due to, greenhouse gas emanating from, factors which emanate from poverty, malnutrition, poor hygiene, overpopulation, and excess pollution. Friends, climate-related extremes such as heat waves, droughts, floods, cyclones, wildfires, they make this Earth extremely vulnerable to live. And these are what are called as climate risks. Now, banking, a crucial part of day-to-day life, is deeply impacted by this climate risk. There are 2 types of climate risks to broadly identify them. One is, of course, the physical risk, as I submitted. They arise out of changes in weather and climate that impact the economy directly. Drought, heat waves, rising sea levels, melting glaciers, and warming oceans, they impact lives, and they are very much visible physical risk emanating out of climate risk. The second one is what we will be, focusing today and impacts the entire financial world, is what is called as the transition risk. Transition risk arises out of an increase in the operational cost during the transition to a low carbon economy. It affects directly as well as indirectly. As I submitted, effluent treatment plants, water harvesters, innovation and research in electric and alternate energy using vehicles, energy containerization, reduction of intensity of energy, and various costly medical treatments, which involve out of these impacts. they cost, the human beings a huge expense. And banking today is concerned about these expenses and the ways to contain these expenses worldwide. Friends, we have analyzed the climate risks in detail, and we'll briefly touch them. There are 8 types of climate risks if you go into a slightly detail. The first one is the product risk. The quality of product, will be impacted if you are impacted with climate risk. My son had a birthday. I went to buy a cake. He said, "Sir, since yesterday night, there is no electricity. So as such, I could not run my freezers." And, the friends of my son, they went back, and then, it led to sort of, unhappiness. So the small issues, they become a big, disappointments if the product is impacted itself and you're not able to generate. And then what happens is, if a shopkeeper is not able to sell his cakes on time, then he has to throw away a lot of raw material, and then he cannot service his interest on his housing loan or his cash credit limits with the bank. So the product risk, creates problem. Then technology risk, when you asked, ultimately when you got a cake, you asked him to write a name on the cake. He said, "Sir, his writing machine is not working." Similarly, when various units operating in the ecosystem, they stop producing, then the problem comes of supply chain risk. We just saw how once the Beijing was closed or the Chinese market was closed, how the cars across the world are not available. And various other components, even electric meters and various small automobiles are not available because the supply chain has broken down. There are operational risk. If you do not have camera working because of lack of electricity at a ATM, then chances of theft are there. So operational risk is there. You cannot load also even ATM. That will result in a lot of inconvenience. Then of course you cannot report, and you can observe all the regulatory guidelines of the Reserve Bank of India if you're infested with climate risk. And of course, you'll be confronted with litigation from the people who suffer because of these risks you're running in your financial institutions by not delivering the product you have committed to deliver. And of course, in the process, the entire reputation gets damaged. They say that HDFC or this particular bank's or this particular card company's card, is not working properly. So sometimes such, impacts also arise because of these various climate risks. And that ultimately results into what is the threat to our existence itself, called as existential risks. Friends, before we delve into the various aspects, let's be very, very honest that the entire world is seized of this issue. Of course, Climate Risk and Finance Council is also very much captured and captivated of this problem. But then in 1995 itself, 195 countries, they gathered in Paris, out of which 193 countries, which are emanating about 98% of emissions. Of course, Iran and one more small country, they did not sign. Now, they signed into what is called as a Paris Agreement that covers climate change mitigation, adaptation, and various finances to be raised for achieving the norms adopted in this Paris Agreement. The provisions are adopted through national policy initiatives. It's such a sincere effort that each country, out of its national policy for climate management, indoctrinates this as a national policy. Long-term temperature goal is well below 2 degrees from the pre-industrial level. Now, each country has, an industrial growth benchmark. Now, the agreement wants that the temperature in that particular domain should not exceed more than 2 degrees. In fact, up to 2030, it should not exceed more than 1.5. And then it also, wants to reduce the emissions, and the objective is to reduce the emissions to net zero by 2050. The agreement is very exhaustive, very interesting document for the people who follow this, interesting topic. And it has 16 paragraphs, 29 articles. They cover almost everything, and most of it is dedicated to greenhouse emissions. Unfortunately, the aviation sector, which is hugely responsible for deterioration of climate, and the shipping, they are not dealt in this. They are dealt separately by various regulations. And the best thing is that it has encouraged setting up of international platforms for carbon trading. Those who are helpless and whose products generate carbon, they have to invest in a windmill somewhere or buy carbon credits, so that entire world remains within the limit of this 2 degrees. Developed countries, this is the good news. They have up to 2025, every year they have said that they will mobilize $100 billion and will contribute to various developing countries, to reduce emissions in them and bring down balancing equipment in their factories and production centers, which will reduce the temperature or sustain it within 2 degrees. Friends, now we come to what is exactly a banking risk. We have seen the climate risk. Before we correlate these things, let's briefly understand what exactly is the banking risk. Banking risk, banking is actually everybody's money. It is your money, my money. Bankers' capital is very limited. Bank actually needs only 8% of capital. Say for 100 crore of loan, they need only 8 crores with them. That too, if it is fully secured, the requirement is less. So banking risk is actually a potential loss to a bank or people related to it due to particular events. Banks, they encounter business risk, non-business risk, financial risk, operational risk, reputational risk, and of course, the worst is the climate risk. Faced with above risks, banks, they encounter bank runs. There will be runs on bank. People will take away the money. Then customer defections will be there. Big customers will not like to, sustain with banks which are struggling with, various risks. Then there is a loss of deposits. There's a lack of quality borrowers. There are failures, mergers, and takeover. We've seen how many banks, they've lost their name, fame, and everything, and have got merged and are part of history. Risky banks actually inflict losses to depositors, disruptions to borrowers, and damages to stakeholders. Risky banks deprive society of growth. The only aim of a bank is to, take the community along and grow it. Now, the risky banks, they create that situation where they fail. They do not return the money. Somebody's marriage is there. Suddenly we find bank in 6-month moratorium because of its failure. And the marriage time of daughter, the father is running helter-skelter, getting some 25 to 50,000 out of 20 lakhs he has saved in that particular bank for his daughter's marriage. Friends, risky banks are infested with frauds, round-tripping of funds. And we have just seen, various banks which have just failed, and they are, infested with vigilance failures. Now, the banking risks, briefly, I will touch. They are also multifaceted. Bank is facing credit risks, bank is facing market risks, security risk, liquidity risk, regulatory risk, moral hazard risk, and of course, the systematic risk. I will just touch in, there's the security risk. I was in Canada till day before yesterday. There, because of the increase in interest rates by the Bank of Canada, the housing market has collapsed. The prices of flats have gone down by 36%, 23 to 36%, depending on whether you are in Toronto or in Montreal or Ottawa. Now, because of that reduction, the security loan to value in various banks has gone down. Banks had funded a house at a certain appraised value. Suppose they had given $5 lakh for a house. Suddenly, the value has come down to $5 lakh itself. There is no margin. That is 20% margin. That value should have been 6 lakhs, has gone down. Now, the banks have been asked by the regulator to increase their capital so that they can hold to this asset, or you dispose of this asset. If you dispose of the asset, you get the market value. So you book a loss of say $150,000 in your books. If you retain this, then the existing capital you'll have to put only as a cover to hold on that because of the central bank norms. So you cannot do fresh lending. Now, one of the biggest mortgage lenders in Canada has stopped lending till September because they are doing the cover of the security. So this is a result of a climate risk that the security value falls down because the entire ambience is infested with inflation. The cost is going topsy-turvy. So friends, all these risks which I stipulated, they can be generated because of the climate risk, which if we do not manage diligently, can cause systematic risk. That is the very existence of the entire system can be impacted. Friends, why banks fail? Why banks fail? Banks is a very easy job. You just open, put some counter, put a big board, because board is there for last 150 years in some cases, like State Bank of India. I opened Sarojini Nagar branch in New Delhi and I took 5,000 rupees from suspense account of Karol Bagh and put a board of State Bank of India. Very first day 80 lakh was deposited and now it is a 350 crore branch. All the money is from people. So why should bank fail when people have so much of trust? Now the bank is failing because of the faulty appraisals. They do not do due diligence while sanctioning the loan properly. They do segment concentration. One bank will go on giving to industries, which are infested with pollution problems. They will not, do the due diligence that tomorrow if government becomes strict, those units will become sick and the entire portfolio will become sick. And the lending is also indiscriminately done. There is lack of staff to follow, or lack of system to disseminate what that particular borrower is doing with the money. There is no monitoring. Then the second reason is the inadequate control over interest rates. Some of the banks are offering 6.5% on savings bank deposit. They do not, align their lending rates with RBI's repo rate. They just go on offering. And then we have seen a bank in South India, in Kerala. Now they are struggling to pay salaries and they are the hottest case for merger. And of course, the frauds are there because you're not diligent and you're over lending or indiscriminately, giving loans. So you are infested with frauds. People will take away money. They will use it for some other purpose and they will never return. The third and the most important reason for failure of banks, as I quoted the Canada case, is the climate risk. So out of the 3 loans gone bad, friends, climate risk is responsible for 1 failure. That means 33% of stress assets flow out of turbulence in climate. So it's very important topic which Climate Risk and Finance Council has chosen today. Friends, this slide presentation is just stopped. I just see. Ashutosh?
Yes, sir. Maybe you can stop sharing and reshare again.
Okay.
Now it's moving, I think.
Now it's moving. So now we come to the crux of the subject today, how these are climate and banking risks related. They are inseparable. There are 7 energy and land use systems for global emissions, which are like power, industry, mobility, buildings, agriculture, forestry, land use, and waste. Now, these are the prime sources of climate risk, absorbing huge finances, capital, and money. See, they create a climate risk, but they are the best targets of funding by the banks because they are doing well. Now, the oil companies, you can imagine the amount of pollution they create, but the amount of money they absorb. I used to sit outside the office of ONGC with a check of 100 crore, sir, kindly take it. And, the amount of pollution it does. But 100 crore used to be repaid within 18 months with a good interest amount. So the situation is very dicey. Funding these assets provides growth and income to banks, Banks, cannot operate in silo because such big borrowers, you cannot, say go back, I'll only give 1 lakh rupee personal. How will the bank grow or subsist? So growth of these climate risky assets is directly proportional to the development of banks and vice versa, unfortunately. If you do not lend to them, then you cannot grow. Now, pollution guzzlers, they subsist on banks, and banks thrive on, these polluting units. Climate and banking risks have become inseparable. Friends, let us examine the adverse impact of climate risks on various banking segments in details. I have actually encapsulated the various products which get impacted. The impact is so deep, friends. The financial markets like banks, the banks are a part of the financial market. There are NBFCs there are private lenders there. So the financial markets like banks, open public savings to individuals and companies needing a home loan, a student loan, or a business loan. The following facets of financial markets face the vagaries of climate risk. First, the stock market. You see what is happening in stock market. That also, if you deeply analyze, is the result of this climate risk only. Then the bond market, to just see the interest rate. Nobody is able to come even bond issue today because nobody will subscribe and the issue may bomb. Even after offering 5.5% interest, some of the companies are not able to come. Muthoot Finance, which has run 19 series of bond, is also evaluating whether to come to the market. Commodity market, you've seen how the price of oil has gone up, and it is really, making a mockery of the entire economy across the world. Then the money market, there is no demand for short-term debt because nobody can, earn the money if he borrows overnight and returns tomorrow. That sort of business cycle has evaporated. Then the derivative market, derivatives are the underlying assets from a main financial asset. When the financial asset is not working, how the underlying asset in the shape of a derivative asset, that market which used to generate millions of dollars worldwide, is also evaporated. The futures market has no future now because nobody would like to predict what will happen 6 months, 9 months, or 12 months from now. And of course, the foreign exchange market is on fire. The rupee is depreciating. Pakistan rupee has become almost 200 rupees per dollar. We are also inching towards 100 rupees. Now, the worst has happened to cryptocurrency market. At one stage, sir, cryptocurrency market had become 3 trillion market. It had become third largest market after US dollars and euro. Crypto was $300 trillion. Now $3 trillion. Today, you have seen a 69,000 worth of cryptocurrencies selling to $15,000. Imagine the losses which is this climate risk mismanagement has brought, because we went for economic liberation, printed currency to somehow give succor and some comfort to people suffering from corona, which was again a crisis out of climate. So that is now making these changes to the entire world market. Imagine the people who have invested in cryptocurrency losing their shirts. Then the spot and over-the-counter markets with forward trades has virtually evaporated. And of course, we used to make, as a general manager of SBI, I used to lend in the call money market in Mumbai and make hundreds of crores of rupees in a year. That also, because no bank is lending aggressively now. Only the existing loans or the government corporates, they are being financed. And of course, the exposure is going up in car loans and housing loans. Apart from that, there is very little investment from private sector. Friends, now the money market, of course, is, which facilitates short-term borrowing, has also suffered. The treasury bills, they are no more being used except by banks for the purpose of SLR, CRR. Commercial paper market has dried up. And, the trade credit, which was the bread and butter of most of the overseas branches of various banks of India, is also suffering because trade now volumes have gone down. Once I used to import a container load from China. Now I am importing only half of it. So trade, the LC value, the bank guarantee value, the standby letter of credit value has also gone down. Assets are held only for short terms, and the market, which enabled banks to borrow overnight cash flow to meet their mismatches, or meet the adverse clearing or SLR requirement is also very much subdued. Friends, climate risk diverts funding from short-term resources to capital-intensive zero-carbon resources and anti-pollution long-term investments, which is also impacting this money market because there is no demand for this. The OTC market, as I submitted, is also infested because of the climate risks, which has soiled the OTC market due to the reduced demand for short-term funding, as the cash-generating cycles are prolonged and default risks have risen, so people are not accessing the short-term market over the counters. Then the capital market, you have seen, we had seen, massive public issues. Now, a public issue of the government of India's most blue chip, that is Life Insurance Corporation, has lost 29% of its issue value. Now, this is the biggest risk. Now, LIC has been in our blood before we were born. My father used to have so many policies, all of you have. Now, LIC, a government company which sold its shares on Saturdays and Sundays by opening all the banks, is also not able to come out of the grip of this crisis. Why? Why? Because this crisis is an overriding crisis, and it is, unless you plan effectively over a period of long term, it will continue to bite. Now, both primary and secondary markets, are suffering, and people are joking that now the most eligible person to operate in the stock market is the person with the strongest heart and deepest pocket, because it is going to be a loss instead of win, which we witnessed when the currency supply was very, very huge. Friends, Forex markets are totally disrupted. When I went to Canada 3 months ago, I bought Canadian currency at 56. When I returned, it was 60. 4 rupees per dollar. Just imagine, within a period of 90 days. That is the amount of depreciation which our currencies are facing. So these are the risks. Now that will make our imports costly. We are all suffering because of the high cost of oil, because it is imported. The gold is also on fire. Then the cars manufacturers are asking for rise, and the amount of inflation which has gone into food. Just imagine, I used to buy kirana for 800 rupees per week for my small family, but now it is going up to 1200. Now imagine the impact to the people right up to the last mile because of this climate crisis, which we did not handle properly. Friends, the commodity market I submitted, is suffering very, very adversely. And of course, the bond market, I said there is no bond issue coming up. Maybe even the government is not coming out with bond issue because there is no liquidity now already because of the huge hike in interest rates and SLR CRR ratios. The money has been sucked out and inflation is set in. So bond market is also not working. There is no question of derivatives, performing because the main product, the financial product itself is under depression. So derivative market has evaporated. Now, all this is leading to huge losses in the economy. And ultimately, the economists say that this will impact the global GDP by at least 2% and individual countries' GDP for more than that. Some of the countries in nations who had adopted cryptocurrency as their official currency have lost GDP to the extent of 5 to 6% already. Friends, we used to have a wonderful product called hedging. Now, once you are an exporter or an importer, what you do is that you say, okay, sir, I'm sending these goods outside for sale, or I'm purchasing these goods for manufacturing and value addition into various products in India. Then in the foreign exchange used to be covered, and the rate was given, okay, from after 3 months for $1, we will charge you 78. So I used to be very, very comfortable as an exporter or importer because I knew the cost of hedging my dollar, and whatever may happen in the market, I'll have to pay 78. But today you call a banker and ask for hedging. He will not take long-term hedging. Earlier, we used to do 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. In term loans, we used to go for 3 years hedging. But now, if more than 180 days getting hedging will require 20 telephones to Bombay market. And even then you may not get it because nobody is ready to, predict what will happen to economy because of the lack of control on the various risks which are emanating in our ambience and our ecology. Friends, the intermediaries, they are the worst sufferers. Now the regulations have come for NBFCs. Regulations have come for banks. Banks used to earlier, keep into reverse repo with RBI, earn 3.65% interest. Today, financial intermediary, which is an entity that exists, acts as a conduit between two parties in a financial transaction, such as a commercial bank, investment bank, mutual fund or pension fund, is also facing the very existence of itself. They used to offer several benefits, including safety, liquidity, and economies of scale in banking and asset management advisories. They used to be, integral part of finance, including, insurance. Now, climate risks have impacted the intermediaries very significantly, and people are bypassing them. They say, let us save the cost. Why we go to an insurance advisor? Let us directly go to the insurance company to save some cost. So the intermediaries, which were also very important part of a finance market. You see, in a foreign exchange transaction, you will always have to deal with traders. They will be brokers. They are officially recognized brokers by the Reserve Bank of India to advise banks when to enter, when to dispose your dollar, when to have an overnight positions. Now, banks are also telling when there is very thin margin in dollar, why should I, pay an expert? So the intermediaries, and ultimately bank is also an intermediary. So the impact may come. Some of the banks are feeling the pinch. We have seen very glorious results as on 31st March 22, because there was not very much reckless lending done during the Corona period. Now, when the demand for credit is going up and the climate of business is becoming down, you will see the results of September 22. They will be totally different because the earnings, the potentials of various incomes has subdued. And we have seen Bearing Bank collapse, ILFS collapse, subprime crisis, Lehman Brothers vanishing from the earth, which are, various risks faced by various financial intermediaries. Friends, the trade finance is one of the, biggest businesses in the world. For the world has become a village. A car manufacturer today puts 251 parts in a car. Now, I had financed Maruti Udyog Limited as a lender. Now, if you see their import bill position, 50% of imports are from Japan, and remaining 50%, only 10% used to be Indian product, 40% maybe from 40 to 50 countries worldwide. And they used to go on changing them, exploring cheaper markets. Now, a car has inputs of 51 countries. Now, once the cash flows, they become subdued and the crisis comes, the transportation costs go up, and the shipping, delays become very, very, bottleneck type. Then what happens is the trade finance suffers. And if trade finance suffers, the income of the bank goes. In Frankfurt branch of SBI, where I worked from 2006 to 2011, we used to have two portfolios. One was credit portfolio and one was trade finance portfolio. Credit portfolio was 500 million euros. And trade finance was 2 billion euros, because the business in trade finance is tremendous. Everybody wants to import, whether food, eating, wearing, everything is imported from worldwide because of the, cheaper things available in one particular location. But all that is now suffering. And this climate risk, they make the maximum impact on this. And that results in a lot of job losses and a lot of, miscommunication as far as financial dealings are concerned, because people start distrusting each other because of delayed payments. And then, the entire business cycle gets disrupted. Friends, The majority of international trade is conducted on these two instruments of standby LC and letter of credit, and of course bank guarantee. The climate risk impacts corporates' cash flows, resulting in missed messages to retire LC on time and redeem the commitments between the SBLC as per contracts. The trade finance dislocation upsets the entire trade cycle adversely. Friends, of course, the entire supply chain today is under pressure. And I was sitting in a board of directors meeting last week online, and the chairman, was approached by his PA with a, a message which had come from email, a hard copy of the email. He showed it to chairman, and chairman, was taken aback. Then out of curiosity, we asked what that message is. He said he's got a 96 crore worth of order for manufacturing smart meters. But then today, he's unhappy to get this order. The situation has become so bad that a 96 crore worth of order is an unwelcome order. I said, why, sir? Why you should be happy? You have been chasing this order for so long. He says 20% of the components are from China. And there is a total demolition of supply chain. If I ask for, supply today, I'll get after 3 months. By that time, the validity of the order will go away. And after 3 months, they will revise the rate. So my quotation will become a loss-making quotation. So this is how the, demolition of supply chain happens because of the, climate risk not managed properly. It creates hindrances in continuity of supplies. It takes considerable time and capital to create alternate suppliers, and adverse climate conditions not only disrupt supplies, but affect the gross domestic product of the nation, as I submitted, due to reduced productivity. Friends, the sheer collective power of market, throws strong indications of where to invest money. Why we apply to a particular company share without analyzing. We know that thousands of people out of that, about at least 100 would have studied the prospectus, the share issue document, and they would have found it good. That is why everybody is doing it. So there is sort of a mob psychology that happens in investments. Now this climate risk, that disrupts that also. So people will say, why should I take risk? Why should I join the mob psychology? So no money is spent or lent if climate conditions, they worsen. And that becomes a cascading effect on the entire economy. And ultimately, it hurts the poor man's pocket. The transactions in the financial markets are risk sharing. The person who invests is different from the person who uses those funds. See, I, as a retired person, will go on saving. But a person, my own son, suppose he's a businessman, he'll go on borrowing. So the persons who invest and the person who use are totally different. A significant amount of course, regulatory checking and due diligence is done on those who use funds, mostly done by banks and corporates. But climate changes, they affect such inferences. Inferences are drawn on probabilities. Okay, this fellow will pay me so many installments. But then if the climate changes affect, he doesn't pay. Then ultimately the interest rate for deposits on, retired persons goes down, because they have to provide for NPAs, bad debts, and write-offs. So adverse climate, affects the quality and quantity of production, leading to more money chasing fewer goods, resulting in inflation. Now, the worst thing which has happened as a board of director, I have faced it, very, very badly, and I was feeling so let down because the bottom line, that is the profit of our corporate, where, I advise, they went down. And government says 2% of your last 3 years, average profit should be given to social responsibility. So we used to donate to various, socially active people for feeding poor. So we were donating about 2 crores every year. And now it has come down to 56 lakhs. Now I had to, reduce drastically, and people said the cost of food is going up and you're reducing the, donation. And that was the situation which is created out of this, poor management of the, climate risk. So climate risk mitigation expenses, consume a large part of company surplus, leaving very little. This is another aspect. Once the climate risk, has to be mitigated, you have to install various balancing equipment. You have to change your generators. You have to change your electricity, meters and things like that. So what happens is, a lot of money, goes away into capital expenses, and there is very little left. So CSR initiatives suffer the most due to adverse climatic conditions where poor people need maximum attention. Eradicating hunger, poverty, nutrition, and poor health suffers due to this condition. So friends, my first part about the various risks which are inflicted on banking and financial systems because of the problem emanating out of the deteriorating climate has been discussed. Before I proceed, let me salute the father of nation by a very small anecdote. Immediately after independence, Mahatma Gandhi ji used to sit in Birla House in New Delhi. Every evening he used to interact with various people, and they used to discuss with him the future of India. So one evening, one English journalist asked him, "Sir, your country is having, 38 crore people. We were 38 crore at the time of partition and independence. So, most of them are illiterates. And how will you make the India of your dreams? How will India succeed? May again fall into the hands of some other, country which might attack it." Mahatma Gandhi, in his usual calm disposition, heard him, smiled. And he said only 4 words, and those were, "Each one, teach one." Mahatma Gandhi ji said that, as per your own statement, the journalist gentleman, India has about 10 crore people who can read their name and write, and they're literate, and remaining 28 crore are illiterate. But then I will see that those 10 crore people, they start teaching one by one to others. And within few years, 10 will become 20, and then 20 will become the entire nation. So many bankers, they are at sea on avoiding credit decisions that create the climate risks. Climate Risk and Finance Council request you to emulate the words of Father of Nation and share the knowledge of climate risk mitigation and the problems which we just discussed extensively with the budding bankers, so that, it is possible to make the Indian banking create a safe banking ambience and happiness for the people who are associated with it. Friends, the various strategies, which are emerging to counter the climate risks. There is no doubt that there is an immediate attention needed to control the climate risk. Even though Paris Convention has given time up to 2025, then 2030 and 2050, we should not wait. Every decision of a lender sitting in his desk, whether as a recommending authority, assessing authority, or sanctioning authority, or reporting authority, should be to counter-check the impact of the lending which he is doing on the ambience, the climate, whether I'm going to deteriorate by funding this. You have to put a price on carbon emissions. You have to end fossil fuel subsidies. You have to build low carbon resilient offices. You have to increase energy efficiency and use of renewable energy. Fund those units which are, bringing alternate uses of, development of energy. You have to implement climate smart agriculture. You have to see whether, people will just depend on water supply, or during heat, they will not have any crop. No. Guide them for short-term, agriculture. When you are funding the agriculture loan, thousands of crores are lent every day across India to farmers, but very little is taught to them. As a lender, we have the prerogative to guide them that go for cash crops, go for crops which are less water dependent, go for crops which yield better and yield early. You have to again nurture forest landscapes. No, forest landscapes are running wild. There is no money invested in nurturing the forest so that they become sort of catalyst for harvesting the ambience holding on to the situation where rains come. We are not at all thinking about those possibilities of harnessing nature for making this world more beautiful. And we have to discourage bank finance to carbon intensive units at all costs. Friends, the volume of carbon emissions from businesses should decide the interest rate on bank. There should be, extra premium charged if a person is, emanating. How will you know as a banker? You do not know, you have no training. But you go. People say that if you go to a factory and you find smoke, that means a lot of hydrocarbons are going into the air without being processed. The little amount of smoke itself can tell a banker that this is a polluting unit. No, we don't need too much. We just put a deterrent. Okay, sir, aapka dhua bahut hai. We'll charge you 1% high rate. This fellow will say, instead of giving me 5 crore, give me 3 crore because interest cost is heavy. So our purpose will be served. Friends, higher the pollution, higher should be the funding cost. Now, the challenges which the climate risk throws, the scientists believe that about 1.5 degrees Celsius of warming is already locked in through the amount of greenhouse emitted. Now, another 1% rise is expected in coming years, so the world must take proactive steps to reduce emissions. Now, you can't stop industrial growth also, not only for employment purpose, but also for catching up with the world, which is coming out with various innovative products. So industry has to run. But our idea should be that the growth of industry should not increase the temperature of the world. Already, 1.5 degrees has gone up in the last 2 decades, rather 25 years, and we are expecting another 1%. Now, building resilience in all development projects globally is the biggest challenge today thrown by the climate risk. Increased financial support is required for preparedness and prevention. We do not have balance sheets. The number of balance sheets we analyze, there is no sinking fund for supporting, fight against climate risk. People are just struggling that somehow the balance sheets, they balance and they declare some profit. Customized technology and dedicated low-cost funds are the biggest challenges which the entire economy is facing to mitigate the climate risks. There are a lot of opportunities also. Now, as a banker, a self-serving banker, a banker responsible to give a good balance sheet, I find a lot of opportunities in the climate risk. As a major finance provider, as a banker, I find new avenues to invest in disaster preparedness, renewable energy, energy efficiency, city planning and development. From Frankfurt, I went to various Nordic countries and funded a large number of windmills. Now, a windmill at those days used to cost us 0.75 million euros. That is about 4 crore 50 lakhs per machine. And we funded about 100 of them. They were right across Sweden, Denmark, and various Helsinki and various other places. No, the impact of those things were there that for 6 months, these countries who face extreme cold, they were importers of electricity, and 6 months they were exporters of electricity to Germany. See, the impact of renewable energy will make you exporter of energy. Whereas we are struggling with deficiencies. Even today, there were telephone calls from Aligarh and various places. My friends called कि sir हमारे यहाँ ना रात को बिजली चली जाती है तो आपका जो meeting है उसका recording भेज दीजिएगा. See, we are struggling with such things, and those countries have become energy efficient, and they have planned their cities. I went to a mall in Sweden. There, the mall was 5 floors below the ground. Rather than a high-rise building, it is going 5 floors down, and lifts are going like this: -4, -3, -2, -1, and basement. And in the basement was the food joint where food was being served, because there a lot of energy is generated, and that used to keep the entire mall warm. See, how they have adopted to climatic challenges is to be seen. Here we are going in for high-rise buildings, putting huge air conditioners which are cutting the atmosphere, into inefficiency. But there, I find that they have harnessed the climate and become, they are nearing the, zero pollution levels very shortly. Induction of climate risk measures in credit proposals in banks, should be there to filter risky propositions away from banks, and mitigating the climate risk on the viability of credit business. Banks would align their lending and investment portfolio with net zero emissions. This will certainly reduce NPAs. We have confronted throughout my banking life cycle, I have seen large number of units getting closed because of non-observance of the compliances of various pollution control boards. Climate risks provide opportunities to reinvent credit strategies to sustain the longevity and profits of the bank. Friends, how to de-risk loan portfolio from climate risk? This is very important for the budding bankers. Climate change is fundamentally a development issue. It threatens to exacerbate poverty and hurt economic growth. The way countries grow and invest to meet an expanding population, energy, food and water needs fuels climate changes, and it raises the risk worldwide. It also contributes to various solutions. Because of the problem which is now worldwide, a lot of big brains are working on it. Brains like your council, is also doing its little bit for the contribution towards the awareness and towards the solution of this problem. Banks must keep the economy growing. There is no turning back on growth, because without growth, we cannot survive. Banks' policies and growth choices must be oriented to reduce the drivers of climate change. Banks have to decouple growth from carbon emissions. Put your foot down. No, I will not. If you just put on a proposal, then the top management too busy in various policy decisions, they might overlook that this is a unit which emits unnecessary, carbon and create a long-term problem for the world. Now you may say 1 or 2 units, how they will change the world or they will impact the world. Sir, everyone, Rabindranath Tagore said, Ekla chalo. Every single unit which you have financed in your career or contemplating to finance can create change. If you insist that it should not emanate carbon, over the years, that unit, will be a boon for the society. Cutting emissions starts with clear policy signals. Put a price on all carbon in all lending decisions. Friends, what we need today as a strategy is macroeconomic changes. Now, a carbon price is the most critical thing to implement as part of Paris Agreement. It will unleash the market forces. Even State Bank of India Corporate Center Mumbai, with its 17 floors, has now purchased 2 windmills in Jaisalmer, because the corporate office throughout the day, with all the printing going on, air conditioners running, computers working overtime, they are generating a lot of pollution. Now, to mitigate that, as a part of their contribution to the nation, they have invested in 2 huge windmills in Jaisalmer as a part of service to the nation, and the power generated by those are put into the grid free of cost by SBI. So each bank, each branch should think in those terms, that if I am creating some pollution, I should at least, by taking decisions which credit decisions which do not help units who create pollution, will be your service to the nation. Friends, carbon pricing systems that cap emissions and charge carbon taxes per ton send a long-term signal to companies to reduce polluting behavior. So you must charge extra interest and extra charges and encourage investment in cleaner energy and low carbon innovation. Now, close to 40 countries and more than 20 cities have carbon taxes already. Korea and China, with carbon markets in cities, saw their emissions drop considerably. And fossil fuel transportation encourage ERVs. Now, best thing you can do is daily car loans are coming. Each banker is having a 10 to 20. In fact, some of the banks are sanctioning more than 100 car loans every day in every center in the country. Let them stop it. Let them say we will only finance ERVs now. That is what has happened in Europe. They are telling, no, we will only finance Tesla now. So why not we tell? We can also say we'll finance only Tata ERVs or this or that brand ERVs, because as if you take that decision, probably one person may change his mind. Now oil is costing. Now if you fill your full tank, it costs you 4,000 rupees for say 500 kilometers. Now if you charge it with electricity, it costs you only $5. That is hardly 150 rupees. So, or maybe 200 rupees. So the difference in cost itself can be a marketing point to finance vehicles, which do not emanate unnecessary pollution. Friends, the time is to move faster and save faster. Nearly 1.3 trillion went into direct fossil fuel subsidies. We are telling that our country is having, very costly oil. Worldwide, the governments are, diverting their development funds and trying to keep the cost of oil low, because it has a cascading effect on all products of the economy. It has to, all the products have to be transported for sale. So, if the transportation is costly, the things become costly. So $1.3 trillion worth of, subsidies have been given because we were not cautious. So that money which should have come to our development is going to reduce the cost of fossil fuel. That too only artificially. Then the irony is the wealthiest 20% of the population captures 6 times the benefit from fossil fuel subsidies as the poorest 20%. Now, who is driving, posh cars which are guzzling oil? They are rich people. So all these subsidies are benefiting them. So we have to build low carbon resilient offices, banks, schools, factories, airports, and hotels. Friends, more infrastructure will be built in the next 20 years than past 6,000, because the system has caught up. You just see the skyline of Gurgaon or Bombay or other cities. Everywhere you are finding big superstructures coming. Cities are growing fast. Half the global population is urban today, and by 2050, cities are expected to hold 2/3 of world population. Once this migration is happening, it is time to create conditions which be livable for them. We should not create a mess in the cities by being careless as a financing muscle, because we have got the public money and the prerogative to lend it to the people we want. So we should select the people or the people who create such industries which create less pollution. The time to curb carbon emissions is now. Move fast, move faster, and save the climate, friends. Now, how do you fight in this process the various inefficiencies which are too much to handle? But then there are ways to handle. A well-planned transportation and land use with energy efficiency standards can build smart cities. There is a move to create 100 smart cities in India already by the government. We should help that cost. And we should see that public money is not locked in unsustainable patterns. Energy conscious cities provide access to jobs and opportunities for the poor and reduce damaging air pollution. Data shows that only 4% of 500 largest developing countries' cities are creditworthy in international market. The banks have opportunities to lend here to build systems that fight inefficient energy use. I am also advisor to Power Ministry. There we are working out various products and we will be launching them soon for various factories who are already indebted to various banks. But the government initiative is that you provide further extra loans at very cheap interest rate, which reduces the energy intensity of their machines. So finance them balancing equipment, change their production process so that they consume less electricity. So these steps are on, and we should encourage these steps, and we should, our bank should join with Power Ministry to encourage such finances. Worldwide, about 1.2 billion people lack access to electricity today. 2.8 billion rely on solid fuels for cooking, that like wood, charcoal, coal, and various harmful indoor pollution creating substances. So it is our duty to increase energy efficiency through the use of renewable energy. We should finance those industries better. Now, prevention is definitely better than cure. RBI, commercial banks, NBFCs, they all operate in money market. They operate in stock exchanges. and various banks and microfinance institutions, they have huge bag of funds to lend. Now, polluting units must be denied permission to access even the capital market. SEBI should ensure that these people do not come out with public issue. If they come out with public issue, their pricing should be pre-decided, and this should be the it should be at discount rather than at a premium. A share should be at a discount. Promoters commencing carbon intensive units through their capital. Suppose somebody comes, okay, I will install a carbon intensive unit without borrowing from any bank or NBFC or going public. Even those people, should be taxed prohibitively. They cannot be given liberty to soil our atmosphere. The lifetime of machinery should be restricted to 10 to 15 years. Now, we are, totally ignoring this fact that after a certain time, the machines start yielding negative results and yield a lot of pollution. So we should, as a banker, as a lender, insist that he has to create a sinking fund, a reserve, that he has to go on substituting his old machinery within 10 to 15 years. Otherwise, he'll become a drag on the entire community, and which will ultimately recoil on the profitability of the banks, and banks will suffer. Friends, there are forward moves, to checkmate the climate risk. World Bank has stipulated 3 goals, and these should be, part of our Bible, our Gita, our Quran, while we sit at our lenders' desks. That is, the first one is to achieve universal access to modern energy. We should not say कि साहब आपको तो 4 रुपए यूनिट बिजली मिलती है, ले लो. No, we should insist कि 20% of your energy you should source from non-renewable sources, and then double the rate of improvement in energy efficiency. There should be a sanctioned term that his electricity bill will monitor every month with his stock statement, and he should go on reducing his electricity bill, and it should be in consonance with the production. He should not waste electricity in his factory. Double the share of renewable energy in the global energy mix. Concerted efforts in the above directions have been successful. It is not that what has not done anything. These have been successful. Energy efficiency improvements are showing crucial successes. Every gigawatt saved today is a gigawatt that didn't have to be produced. It's like money saved. Globally, energy use is about 1/3 lower today due to the past 25 years of energy efficiency improvements. This is a very good sign, and renewable energy is becoming increasingly affordable as prices fall. I had seen that earlier my borrowers never used to go for bagasse, windmill, or even solar panels. They used to say कि साहब उसकी बत्ती जो है, I am buying that electricity at 8 rupees unit, whereas I am getting the regular at 4 rupees. But now, sir, in the market, the prices have almost harmonized. They are all available at the same price. So why go for electricity which drags on thermal resources of the country or on the diesel? So let each banker continue serving the Mother Earth through climate compliant lending. Friends, we have to go back to the soil also. Some of those who are agriculture lenders, they have to make impact on their farmers. Farmers, they may look ignorant, but they're very intelligent. So the government has said that they will increase their income by 2023 to double of the present level. If that has to be done, then they have to be taught, and given implements which are less energy consuming and less energy intensive. They have to be taught about the crop rotation and harness the climate, and then sow seeds so that they can get returns faster. Forests too, they are valuable carbon sinks which absorb carbon and store in soil. So they should also be taken good care while lending. Friend, banks, this is probably my last slide. Friends, banks, they are part of the human life. They cannot operate in silos. They are catalysts of change as they deliver aggregated money to society. Being easily accessible, banking attracts millions of investors daily, mostly without even leaving their home desk. They go on putting money, through online ways. And banks have done very good also as far as the reduction on energy is concerned. Today, most of the banking is online, and you do not get printed statements. You just get statements online. So these are saving. The LCs, the BGs, they're all, either on SFMS. So most of these things, they have also helped and reduce the usage of carbon, printers and various papers. So friends, those are due diligence of the ordinary intelligence of millions of people. The economic developments can take the desired direction through fair lending and controls. Banks must lend proactively to maintain the ecology through innovative products. Banks must ensure money flows seamlessly across the country to the last mile person in least possible time by effectively checkmating the climate risk. Banks should attack pollution in just about everything they do. Banks cannot operate in silos. They must evaluate the climate risk in each loan proposal. Banks must harness the challenges and opportunities of climate risk to make the world worth living. Friends, I will just take 1 minute more. We know since till 1953, nobody has, scaled Mount Everest. And then this New Zealander, Edmund Hillary came on the scene. His sister had to borrow 6,500 New Zealand dollars from a Christchurch bank because at that time, Nepal government used to charge fees for going to scale up the mountain. So out of that borrowed money, he landed in Nepal and hired Sherpa Tenzing Norgay as an accomplice to scale the Mount Everest. So they created a base camp and started acclimatizing. Even though he was from New Zealand, which is a cold country, but still the coldness of surroundings of Mount Everest was extreme. There was very little oxygen, and the living conditions were stormy. Things were very, very challenging. So he acclimatized for 15 days with Sherpa Tenzing Norgay. Used to throw pickaxes, rope, steel ladders, go up and down, create his stamina and control his breathing. One day he fell down about 35 feet and broke his back. And then, he was virtually totally immobile. And he dialed on the satellite phone to his sister, Didi, I'm coming back. I'm sorry, my physical qualities now are not adequate to meet the challenge of mounting the Mount Everest. I'm coming back. But then the sister, although she was unhappy, but she encouraged him to just consult some doctor, take some injections and rest for some time and then make one attempt and then come back. So he tried all that. But suddenly one night, he woke up and he found his body very stiff and then he decided to pack. When he just peeped out of the window, he saw Mount Everest shining, below a beautiful moon. And, tears started rolling out of his eyes very heavily. And then, he became very emotional saying that I was, likely to reach there and suddenly this slip and my back is, paining. I cannot come. He was very sad. He ran to his bedroom and put his head into the bed and then cried. And suddenly some energy inside woke up. And he ran out in that cold night and opened the windows and said, hey, Mount Everest, your height is only 29,029 feet. And I'm a human being with a 6.5 feet body. But since I'm a human being, I can increase my height to miles in my mind and, I'm coming. And with this resolution, he started and, in next 15 days, Sherpa Tenzing Norgay with him was the first person to land on Mount Everest, friends, and created history. This climate control is all in our hands. We also have energies. We are all winners. We have joined lending industry out of a competition of 5 lakh people sitting every year as a probationary officer. So we can accomplish. Let us all work hard and, grab the intricacies of climate risk, overcome them, and be a winner banker. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a really great session. And I think Before vote of thanks, do we have to discuss something, Rela sir? Okay, yes. Everyone, I would like to request to fill up, those who haven't filled the attendance form, please fill up as soon as possible, because through that only we can, send your respective certificates. And I am pasting the link of our LinkedIn page also. You may follow our page for the updates of the events and the webinars and other types of events which we will be organizing in coming days. So that was all, I think. And I
Just one moment, Kashyap. I think before that, let me tell Arvind Govind sir, this is a fantastic session, sir. So far, I have no doubt in saying that this is the best session we had in last 6 months. We have been conducting multiple sessions involving the technology people, agriculture scientists, the bankers, and the data scientists. This is really an insightful session. I think we are really got enriched with the thought process. And I have seen, I think, great stalwarts like Arvind sir. Sir, I think, would you like to share your thoughts on our initiative and about the talk also? Arvind sir?
Yes, first of all, congratulations to the organizers for organizing this very important webinar on a very important topic. Congratulations to all of you. The speaker, Mr. Hargovind, is highly experienced within India and internationally. And he brought his entire experience to bear on this critical topic. I have two specific questions for Mr. Hargovind. Sir, you had mentioned, I know maybe I missed it. You had mentioned that there is some work being done at the Ministry of Power in relation to controlling climate risks, and that's one thing you had mentioned. If you could elaborate on that, that is one. In case, sir, you're also aware of the you obviously know about the Bank for International Settlements in Basel. They have also recently come out with some guidelines for central banks and banks around the world as to the manner in which they should deal with environment and climate risks. So, sir, on these 2 points, if you have any, you could elaborate a little bit, it will be most helpful, sir.
Thank you very much for being very generous in my praise. Well, Basel, is actually asking for additional capital to be provided, because all said and done, the world is growing very fast, and the losses which are now coming out of through the operational risks and various other risks which are indirectly due to climate risks are going up. And now if banks continue to maintain only 7.5 to 8% capital, there won't be anything left for lending. And lending is required for this segment in a very capital intensive way. The anti-pollution apparatus is very, very costly. It does not pay in short term. It will pay in 30 years period. So the main thing which Basel is emphasizing is to enhance the pristine and pure capital of banks so that they can withstand these vagaries of climate risks. The other question, sir, is regarding, can you kindly just...
regarding the Ministry of Power that they are considering certain...
yes, sir. See, you would have heard of Messrs. Dara Shah. Dara Shah is a 100-year-old chartered accountant firm. They are running into educational classes for energy conservation. Now, Government of India has appointed them an agency for 3 years to create a website and create a chain of lenders. Now, on the website, the polluting units will put up their proposal. And as a former banker, I will be the leader of the team who will appraise this proposal's value and the necessity in that production cycle of that particular factory, and then direct it to various lenders. Now, those lenders will be given interest rate rebates by the government. Part of the subsidy will also be borne by the Power Ministry, so that, you know, city after city has industries which are less energy intensive and consume less power for the same level of production. We are going to have a meeting this month, and the first meeting will be happening, and it will show you results within next 6 months, because more and more banks are approaching us, but the interest rates they are saying is heavy, because they say the borrower may already be indebted to some other bank, so I have other risk that he will be misusing funds and all that. We said we will have monitoring apparatus also in place, and we will send you the proposals only from companies which will provide you some alternate security or a charge on the existing security, so that the money does not go waste. So it's a very path-making change which government has brought in through Power Ministry, and very soon, sir, you will find it in the news.
So I have one more question on which your comments will be appreciated, if I may. Now, given your experience in Europe, as you are aware, there are there's carbon trading as a way to, reduce carbon emissions. And there is regulatory carbons and voluntary carbon markets. In India, are we planning any form of regulatory carbon trading in our country? What is your view on that?
In fact, in India, we have permitted international carbon trading. See, there are very little investments being made. Even big corporates are not ready to put equity in such a market because they are not sure of its viability. So what we have done is that companies like Jindal, Bhushan, Tata, and various other pollution creating units, ONGC, and various government sector oil companies, they are doing it internationally. Right now, it is very nascent market in India.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I have a question, sir. Sir, I have a question. This is Sukumar.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. One thing, sir. The recent happening of COVID has really made us to think in such a way that the market globalization has changed and gave the thought of thinking of climate globalization. Are we heading towards climate globalization?
World is a village, sir. Anything impacting one part of the world will definitely impact the other part. And the production prerogatives getting concentrated in advanced economies and expert economies like China and Europe and US. And the other economies being heavily dependent on them. This globalization is inevitable. It cannot be avoided. I submitted you the way car manufacturers are suffering in India. Even small manufacturers, they are not able to make deliveries. It's already indicating that the globalization has set in and we have become totally dependent on each other.
Okay. Any more question from other people? I think there was a question from Ms. Barkha. How cryptocurrency is related to the climate risk?
It is. See, what has happened is climate risk has removed the liquidity. Who were investing in crypto? Those who had liquidity. Today, who is investing? Russia is investing. Ukraine is investing because Ukraine is flooded with grants from all over the world and they do not want to put their money in euro or dollars. So now if the liquidity from the country system goes down, first thing to fall is imaginative currency, and that is cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is what? It is something, a binary figure on a computer. It has no underlying value. There is no gold supporting it. There is no government supporting it. There is no statutory support to it. There is no recognition. There is only some people agree to its value. Now those people with less money, they cannot buy now the currency at higher level. So they say, okay, the $69,000 worth of Bitcoin today is selling at $18,000 because they have only 18,000. Government has removed the excess money which was available in the system. Loans have become costlier. There is no cash flow to these people. So it has collapsed. So it has a direct impact. It is so visible.
May I make a small comment on the cryptocurrencies?
Sure, sir. Sure. Please go ahead.
Your experience, it will be great knowledge for us.
No, in addition to what Hargovindji said, that's a very good response. I'm just adding to that. So what happens in a cryptocurrency transaction, when you sell, if I'm selling Bitcoin from A selling to B, the way the system works is that there is a system of verification of the transaction. That verification of a transaction is called Bitcoin mining. The mining or the verification process requires massive use of huge computers. And these computers, in order to verify one single transaction, consume a lot of electricity. And that electricity that they are consuming is causing damage to the environment. So that's how the linkage is. So one of the criticisms of cryptocurrencies has been that the verification process, the mining process, is very energy intensive. And that has been an attack. So what these cryptocurrency miners do is they go to countries where there is a surplus of electricity. And in those countries, they set up their computers in order to do the verification. So that's how the link comes. And I think as Sir correctly mentioned, of course, the popularity of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies has gone down dramatically in the last few months, along with the fall in prices of all tech stocks. So Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are being considered as tech stocks, but our topic today is environment. And that is the linkage between cryptocurrency and
most of these crypto miners have migrated to Canada because they are energy surplus and the energy is very cheap. And in China, they could not afford the cost of it. Very rightly, very aptly said, sir. That is also causing a huge damage and creating climate risks.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think we are done, and I would like to request Mr. Kannan Rajmani, sir, our advisory lead, to give a vote of thanks to our honorable speaker and every of the attendees who attended the webinar.
Yeah, thank you, sir. It was a real wonderful session. As Rela sir pointed out, one of the best sessions that we have had in the last 6 months, and I know really beautiful insights, wonderful insights on climate risk. And thanks all the others for being really patient, and at this time of the hour in India, probably to be patient, to understand and to ask questions. And this is a real wonderful session. And thanks Ashutosh for organizing, and Rela sir, thanks for sponsoring such sessions. Thank you.